Kou-Chan and Noroma were walking and holding hands when they were intercepted by a teacher. They informed Kou-Chan that he really must be such a nice boy, but he explained to them that Noroma is just an idiot and she cannot do anything on her own, so he must assist her. Once the teacher had gone, Noroma gazed up at Kou-Chan and thanked him for the assistance. Kou-Chan blushed a little, since when Noroma smiles, she looks adorable to him. Otherwise, however, she appeared short and unattractive to him. But they both would later discover that they can't survive without one another. Noroma grew up to be a tall woman with a deep voice, and she was aware that Kou-Chan could not survive without her. And every aspect grew with her, and everybody noticed her big legs. At some point in the future, the two ran into each other again, and Noroma went through a glow-up. Smiling from ear to ear, she welcomed Kou-Chan. Kou-Chan was taken aback, but also welcomed her back before wondering in his mind whether the fellow sitting beside her was her boyfriend. Kou-Chan couldn't utter another word as she started to choke up, tears welling in his eyes. He noticed how good-looking the guy who Noroma was with was, and swore at himself for letting her slip through his fingers. At the same time, Noroma was wallowing in the sadness that Kou-Chan was exhibiting, and adored that he was going to cry. Something Kou-Chan did not know was that the guy was a relative of Noroma. He wondered if it was alright that Kou-Chan had misunderstood their relationship, but Noroma explained that it was alright, drooling from observing the pain and sadness on Kou-Chan's face. Kou-Chan once teased Noroma for being shorter than him by saying that she was 7 inches shorter than him. But in middle school, he was annoyed that Noroma was the same height as him now, and he couldn't tease her anymore for it. But as an adult, Kou-Chan had a height complex and was depressed whenever Noroma was near her because she was quite a head taller than him. Witnessing Kou-Chan miserable because of her height got Noroma all worked up. Going back to high school, Noroma was insulted by Kou-Chan, telling her that she cannot do anything without him. Noroma just accepted it and offered an apology, which rolled off her back like water off a duck's back. Kou-Chan had a complex about being better than Noroma, stating that she hadn't changed. All the same, only that she'd grown taller. He reassured himself with the fact that she has no one but him. Kou-Chan then spotted a boy talking to Noroma and wondered who he was, panic starting to creep in. Noroma explained to the boy that she couldn't reject him because she had Kou-Chan in her life. Upon hearing this, the boy lost his temper and asked what's so good about Kou-Chan and that he is awful to her. As the boy entered to sermonize his virtues, Noroma interrupted him saying that his cruelty is what she was fond of in Kou-Chan. Noroma confessed that Kou-Chan was a self-centered jerk who makes him superior by belittling others. Noroma thinks of Kou-Chan as her possession, but he was a weak person, and she thought that was so cute and irresistible. She told him that that was just his character, but he couldn't live without her. When Noroma had confessed to the boy as well, he remained standing there clueless. But Kou-Chan was watching from behind the corner, anxiously looking on, wondering what was going on with Noroma. He couldn't hear what was being told, and it was devouring him slowly. As the panic further increased, he couldn't believe that Noroma was being confessed to. Sobbing to calm himself down, he mentally demeaned Noroma, saying that nobody would regard her as a woman. But because he was lost in his own thoughts, he did not realize Noroma coming towards him, and upon greeting him, he nearly jumped out of his own skin with fear. His defensiveness made Noroma wonder, and she asked why he was there, and if he wanted something. He did not know what to say at first, but soon he asked Noroma what she was saying as she was conversing with the other boy. Kou-Chan then wanted to try and drop Noroma, claiming that if the boy was actually confessing to her, then he was a loser. Shocked Kou-Chan, Noroma calmly told her that even if that was true, why would she have to inform him? Fortunately for the relief on Kou-Chan's heart, Noroma clarified that it was just a classmate, nothing special. The relief on Kou-Chan's face was apparent. Back to his condescending walk, Kou-Chan wondered rhetorically who would ever date Noroma, but he wondered why he was speaking like this. But he didn't notice Noroma blushing and panting because she believed that she loved this crude tsundere version of him as much as she loved his wretched faces. One day, Noroma welcomed Kou-Chan with her brightest, warmest smile with rosiest cheeks, her shining face blinding all who could gaze upon her. The mere presence of her awakened something in Kou-Chan, and his possessiveness took hold. He informed Noroma that she should not display that face to anyone else. Noroma was perplexed and queried Kou-Chan as to why. Kou-Chan started lying. He informed her that it's because she's ugly and everyone knows she is, so she should be aware of it herself and not be so arrogant about it. The words seemed to have hit something in her, and she remained silent. Trying to conceal that he had a liking for her, Kou-Chan informed her that he's the only one who can put up with her face. When Kou-Chan walked away with an air of smugness, Noroma softly called Kou-Chan's name. While Kou-Chan was trying to determine the sensation in his chest, he confessed to himself that he doesn't want others to see Noroma's cuteness, only him and him alone. And meanwhile, Noroma understood that she had a perverted love and attachment to Kou-Chan, yet she simply can't resist. Walking home from school, Noroma shouted at Kou-Chan before running up to him and hugging his arm. Kou-Chan felt that Noroma's chest was hard against his arm, and he went crazy. Kou-Chan shouted for Noroma to release him, and that she's acting childish to do so. Noroma, being very careless, released her and told him that she understood. Later that evening, Kou-Chan remembered the previous incident and recognized how well-endowed Noroma was, and wondered how a person so dumb could be so lucky. Sadly, he got too pumped up about remembering and had an accident. The following day, Noroma met Kou-Chan, minus the arm grapple. But Kou-Chan hardly even greeted her, his eyes not being able to make eye contact with hers and barely even able to construct sentences, all because of embarrassment from the previous night. Noroma immediately put two and two together and started blushing at Kou-Chan's distress. Kou-Chan eventually managed to get a girlfriend and immediately went to Noroma to brag. He said to her that he can't walk home with her anymore, so she should learn to be independent. Noroma didn't care about Kou-Chan's smugness, so she just said to him that she'll do as he commands. Kou-Chan then started walking with his new girlfriend, contemplating how she was superior to Noroma, looked better than her, sounded better than her, and when he glanced in at Noroma from the window, he started talking about her to his girlfriend, after ignoring all that his girlfriend was saying as they strolled. While Noroma was walking back home, someone slapped her from behind. She turned around to look, and it was Kou-Chan. She said how surprised she was to see him. He didn't reply to her speech, but he gave her a nod after a moment of silence, which informed her he'll be accompanying her home walking from now on. Noroma asked Kou-Chan if he wasn't going home walking with his girlfriend. But Kou-Chan shouted that he already informed her that he's going to walk home now. Calm slightly, Kou-Chan admitted that he dumped his girlfriend, and who cares about her? Kou-Chan then considered why the girl dumped him, with her explaining that she felt unloved because he only spoke of Noroma. He questioned what is wrong with him while wisecracking her. As he was near tears, Noroma was blushing again, for she loved the way he was so pathetic and how no matter what he does to move on from Noroma, he is always crawling back to her. They were together, come hell or high water, and for Kou-Chan, it was more the former than the latter. Seated in class, Kou-Chan noticed that Noroma was being assisted by another student. Seeing her smile, Kou-Chan came up with an idea. When they were about to leave the classroom, Kou-Chan took Noroma's bag and volunteered to carry it. Attempting to be cool, he told her that it must weigh her down, but seeing that he did not receive a reply, he glanced back at her. Kou-Chan anticipated a smile and a thank you, but what he received was a threatening stare with a begrudging thank you hurled at him, shocking him. Angered, he hurled the bag back at her and told her to know her limits while informing her that he was only being friendly towards her, with Noroma now the shocked one. Since Kou-Chan also hurled insults at Noroma, a smile and blush appeared on her face, and a thank you escaped her lips. As Kou-Chan walked away in bewilderment, Noroma felt her heart pounding, for she had come to love this aspect of him. The distorted sentiment started when they were children, with Kou-Chan bad-mouthing Noroma whenever he was with her, saying that she's useless without him. As teenagers, she overheard the way he perceived her, that she was pathetic and worthless, but it was all an act of keeping others at bay, for he truly perceived her as lovely, but his own demons made him belittle her, to attempt to keep her to himself. But now, when adults, he felt as pitiful as he actually was. He keeps hurling empty insults at Noroma, but they only stimulate it. Insults at Noroma, but they only stimulate her. making his life shame pursue him for all his days, so near yet still just out of reach. Noroma's affections really began to solidify for Kou-Chan in one instance as children. The girls Noroma spent time with were verbally trashing her because they thought of her as a walking annoyance. Noroma cried and cried, offering her apologies for being such a bother to the girls, but she was shut off by another voice bellowing for all their attentions. It was Kou-Chan, pushing Noroma to the back of him protectively, leaving the other girls standing there in shock. The girls expressed their astonishment by asking why Kou-Chan was standing up for Noroma when he was her largest bully. Kou-Chan could do no more than scream back that he is the only one who can ever make her cry, then adding that he's also the only person who's allowed to witness her crying. The girls screamed about how ridiculous his statements were before simply leaving the two of them alone. As Noroma called out to Kou-Chan, he merely shouted at her to follow him, attempting to conceal the flush on his face.